welcome to another Unwinding with Fiber and Fabric. Happy New Year and happy Distaff Day. You might notice I don't have a distaff in my hand, nor is there one attached to my wheel. I am choosing to spin silk today, specifically the silk caps that I dyed up back at the beginning of December, or was it the end of November? Sometime in the past. So I am going to talk a little bit about spinning silk. I have an English paper piecing block to share with you. I have a wonderful crochet project that I will be sharing with you. I also have a couple card games that my husband and I have been playing that I also thought I would share, because we've been looking for games that can be played either as a single person or as a couple. There are a number of two-player games out there, but what we find is that we like to have something that doesn't require a lot of ability to think. Sometimes I have two games to share with you. One that doesn't require a lot of thinking and one that requires a little bit. But I wanted to share those because that's some of the things that we'll be doing. My husband and I will be doing in this new year. We are looking at ways to shift up our evening time just a tiny bit. So let's just go ahead and dive in. First of all, let's say Distaff Day. It's January 8th. It's really easy to Google it. So just throwing that out there. But the long and short of it is the day after the 12 days of Christmas, in which lore says that the women would pick up their spinning wheels again, pick up their spindles again, return to their spinning wheels, return to spinning the fibers for their family, the yarns for their family to make clothing. Okay, so that's Distaff Day. And for those of us modern spinners, adjusting everything, this is actually, I've been sitting here a bit trying to figure out how I'm going to get back into vlogging, because after doing it every week for a while, now taking 2 weeks off, I feel all over the place. Sometimes little tiny things that we change in our life can make a huge impact. Sometimes big things that happen in our life make only a small impact. I feel like I'm caught between both of them right now. So let's just hope this goes well. I'll try to put chapters in this video so you can sort of, jump around if you'd like. But let's dive into the silk cap. So silk hankies, as I've said in other videos, they come in just a kind. They are the cocoon of the silkworm that, when softened, they're spread out over a frame to make a square, layered upon layer, until there's usually about 10 layers. So 10 cocoons. Silk caps are similar, only they've been stretched a little bit more. Because there's many, many layers, you want to try your best to get one layer off. When I pulled it off in preparation, I ended up with 3 layers, and this is the third of the 3 layers. Now, because it was already a cap, it's already spread like this. When you're working with a hanky, you'll want to start spreading so you can get your hands in it. Now, I'm doing little, short, gentle, there's pressure, but little tugs. Do not try to just rip this apart. You want to lightly pre-draft your hanky, okay? And before I get to spinning with this, let me just tell you, if you have not spun from a cap or a hat, or cap or a hanky before, even if you've spun other silk, do not pressure yourself to spin extremely fine. As you're getting accustomed to this, it benefits you to have a little bit thicker spin, because If you draft this apart and the fiber goes onto your wheel, it's really hard to find the end again. Even with all the little tips out there, like taking a piece of tape, because unlike spinning silk from a combed prep, this fiber is very slubby. It's very fuzzy. And so it grips. It really grips onto itself. So I suspect one of the reasons it's as slubby as it is comes from the fact that we're taking this, instead of taking this from a cocoon by unwinding it. There's some great videos on YouTube that show sericulture, the use of silk, for you to look into. But I suspect it's slubby for two reasons. One, it's coming from the cocoon in this fashion, and two, they may have allowed the silkworm to exit the silk cocoon on its own, in which case there would be a hole in the cocoon. Either way, there is some slubbiness to this, and so since there's slubbiness, it just benefits to go ahead and go a little bit thicker than what you could do. And think of this as when you apply this on it, apply this against another silk strand of a similar spin. Think of it as a really wonderful, character-filled novelty thread that you could use in something like needlepoint, or to put accents, needle stitch accents on maybe a knitted item. You could also take a single strand of it and ply it with a fluffy wool to get a faux boucle type look. But think of it more of a novelty rather than a really smooth silk thread that you're going for. If I wanted really smooth silk thread, I would probably go with a combed preparation in order to avoid having any of these little slubbies, because those slubs are going to interfere with a fine-eyed needle. But you're noticing here, my hands are fairly apart, actually quite far apart. You want to avoid inchworm with this, because the silk, and if you can back off, in fact, I'm going to back off just a little bit, back off the uptake, because the silk is really, there's a reason why silk was, is known as one of the strongest fibers, or strongest natural fibers that you can spin. It can really put a little bit of wear and tear on your hands. Speaking of which, and so drafting a far distance apart allows me to thin out without, if I'm up close, how do I say this? If I'm up close, the fibers don't come apart, and these are long fibers. If the caterpillar has eaten its way out of the cocoon, then there will be breaks in the length. But these are long fibers, so when our hands are really close together, it makes it harder to draft than when our hands are further apart. We want those fibers to move past each other. And because this is very, it sticks to everything, you can hear it. I don't think you can hear it on the camera, but you can hear it going crunch, 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 crunch. Okay. So as long as you're not going too thin and you're a beginner, you should be able to spin without having it draft apart. That's a big slub. We'll pull that one off. So go slow, reduce your uptake so that it's not really pulling too hard on your hands. Another tip, when I first get started, I always have a leader on my bobbins. You might consider actually starting to spin something entirely different, just to put something down to get it really well started, so that your leader is kind of out of the way already. It can help. I know that when spinning really thin, someone told me years ago, I've never actually tried it, but someone said if you take and wrap some like foam around the center of your bobbin to make the bobbin center fatter. That can help because it changes how it's pulling onto the bobbin. But I'm going to get in the weeds if I continue to go down the path. I just wanted to show you spinning silk again. I've shown it, I think, at least the spinning from hankies and caps at least once before. If I wanted to spin something for very fine thread, if I wanted to blend with other fibers, I'd probably go with a combed silk top, a sliver. But there is value in having this very textural, fun fiber. I will tell you this, when you want to hand dye silk, hand dyeing silk in a hanky or cap form is fun. And color, it takes the color beautifully, it's vibrant, and so it's a lot of fun creating this kind of novelty thread, novelty yarn, by hand dyeing it yourself. Okay, so I am out of practice of vlogging and spinning. You would think I would be better at this where I was doing this all through Tour de Fleece last summer, but that was a long time ago. So I'm going to just show you really quickly, turn it. You can see it's coming together. It's not a fast spin in the sense of, no, it's not a fast spin. This is my third layer of what's probably 10 layers in that cap, and it is going, it goes on fair. I mean, the process of doing this, the drafting, it's very quick, but it takes forever because even when you're trying to spin it a little thicker, there's, you know, thin fiber. There's a lot of fiber. So give yourself time. If you're embarking in this, if you haven't tried it, give yourself time, be patient, and just have fun with it. All right, so I'm going to attempt. That's the one thing. Unlike when you're spinning other fibers, you do not want to just break this off and set it aside. I mean, I could, but it's like, no, I want to spin this whole layer before I finish. And as I said, silk gets on everything. So I will spin quickly, and let's talk about my husband and I playing games. that sounds weird. Okay, sorry. We decided we wanted to play some board games, some card games. When our kids were little, we spent a lot of time in the evenings playing board games with the kids. But we fell out of the habit as they got older, as you know, different events occurred in our lives. And this Christmas, because I was watching a lot of Vlogmas, and one of my favorite vloggers that I love watching, because I love watching indie dyers dye all their yarns up. And I was watching, when I was watching Giddy Knits, and oh, she had one of her Vlogmas episodes, talked about game night and going out to a game shop, and so one of the games she was playing, I was like, oh, that actually kind of looks fun. Unfortunately, I can't find a copy of that specific game. Instead, I found a few other games that we have been one by one trying. And two of the ones that I wanted to share with you today, because they are, one of them, okay, this one I understand is well-known, extraordinarily popular. My husband and I played it. It's silly, it's ridiculous. The two of us playing it together, because it is a card game for 2 to 5 players. when only 2 people play it. Yeah, it was pretty, it was pretty fast. It was pretty crazy. It didn't take a lot of thinking. It didn't take a lot of concentration. It was a wonderful way to unwind. But a game that we picked up a couple years ago, I just hadn't had a chance to play. I think my daughter had played it. Now, this is a single-player game. I have to tell you, this one, Cat Crimes, okay? This one is so much fun playing with a second person. So it's a single-player game, and the object, it's a puzzle, you know, solving the puzzle. Who committed the cat, you know, crime? It's a logic game. Now, my husband and I, we, by the time he comes home from work, neither one of us have a lot of logic skill left. But you have this cute little board like this, okay? And you have all these cute little cats that you can sit around the board. And there's cards. And on the cards, it gives you clues. And you have to figure out from those clues who did the crime. Now, it is a one-person game, but if you have one person holding the cards and one person dealing with the cats and the playing pieces, and the 2 of you work together, old, slow brains that are tired from the day can actually figure out the clues, can actually figure out the solution. So we started playing this one, and oh my goodness, the cards come in beginner, intermediate, advanced, and we started with the beginner set, and the first couple, it was just like, wait a minute, are we gonna be able to enjoy this? They're not difficult, but as I said, our own our own limitations made the beginner cards a little harder than I think they're intended to be. So I would read off the clues. He would then start placing the cats around the little board. Then I'd read over the clues again when we would, you know, think we knew the answer and double check. We did pretty well, especially after we got past the first couple cards and got into a little bit of a rhythm. We didn't do too badly. We're now in the intermediate cards, which the first 2 actually weren't any more difficult than the beginner cards. We're a little scared to go forward because I think we've reached our logic limit, but it is a wonderful game to play. So single player card games, I would imagine there's others that are similar to this, that might actually work well if you have a partner, especially if you're struggling with logic and you need a little help. But there's a couple other games that we haven't yet played that we have that are specifically to 2 players. The problem that we love games like Clue, and we have a couple other games coming, but they are obviously coming from further away. But we really love like games like Clue, and have played a number of variations over the years. I like playing the game Risk. My husband, after the first time of me playing Risk with him, said he never wanted to play Risk again. When my kids were younger and we'd play Risk with them, I would bow out of actually trying to win, and I would try to help coach them to win. But my husband was really funny when we were talking about buying these card games and board games. He said, well, I don't want games that, you know, I want games that we work together towards things rather than you work against me. So even though my brain misfires a great deal these days, I guess my youth precedes me in how we go about the games today. I'm having trouble with words today. I apologize that for any of you that are, that are not accustomed to listening to me ramble. The words just are kind of all over the place. Probably because I'm a little out of practice, but mostly because there's that storm coming in and I'm probably feeling it. So let's move, now that I have that silk out of the way and it won't get caught. Let's move on to my English paper piecing block. See, it's attached. Before I do the English paper piecing, let me just tell you, we have other games coming. We have one that's called Awkward Guests, Awkward Neighbors, Awkward House Guests, Awkward Visitors. One of those names. The thing is when I look it up, it was a game that I guess was originally in Spanish. And so when even I search for it, it comes up under different awkward something, you know. And we have that coming. And I guess it's a kind of like Clue. Or in, I guess for those of you that are over on the other side of the pond, Cluedo. But it's more intense. So I have that coming. We have the game Duel. We have Tacos versus Burritos. We have a little card game that has a fox on the front of it. I can't remember its name. My husband said it reminded him of a modern version of cribbage. In essence, removing all of the extra stuff that you'd have with cribbage and just having a card game. I've never played cribbage, so I wouldn't know, but that one was one that was just, I think he liked it because it's really kind of more of just by sheer dumb luck whether I win or lose. And in this case, I ended up losing the first hand, so he was kind of happy with that. But I also have, we just had a Dungeons and Dragons card game arrive, and we're going to try to play that sometime this weekend, depending on the storm. So, I have a number of new board games, new card games we're giving a try. So I'll be probably talking about it a little bit in the upcoming weeks, sharing with you my adventures, which ones I like better, which ones I don't like. And I'll have more on the whole gaming thing here at the very end. But first, let me show you my EPP block. This one, it did not have a name, so I went ahead and named it New Year's Eve, because it made me think of the bursts of fireworks. I have not pressed it. I have not trimmed up the back. The last block I shared, I hadn't done that, and I wanted to share with you on the back so that you could see. Because I think that's one of the things we see, really flat blocks. We see the finished product. We see when it's in a quilt, but sometimes we don't see what's on the back side. And I want you guys to see the way my block looks before I've pressed it and trimmed it. So I'm going to come in up close. There we go. You can see all of the edges. You can see my center here. I have not pressed it so it spirals. If you can get it to where it spirals around, it will lay flatter, trimming away the excess that you don't need. So see, that's gonna, you can press that down and lay flat. That's how my back of my blocks look. Now, through the magic of editing later, I will post a picture of what the back looks like after I've pressed it and trimmed it up. It's a lovely block. It's a simple block. There's nothing complicated. All of the pieces, there's only, what's it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 pieces for the center area, and then of course the borders. Very simple. Unlike some of the other blocks that I've been doing and that will be coming up, where you really have to have a map. This one, really simple construction. So, that's my EPP block. Certainly look in the description below for the links to my blog, pithyponderings.com. There will be a PDF for you to download for free over there. Okay. EPP is out of the way. Oh, so that's another star. You'll notice I've done a few stars, and I will be doing a number of stars in the upcoming weeks. But for those of you that are looking for something besides a star, don't despair. In February, there'll be a couple blocks start to show up that are not stars. I'm over halfway through my 30 blocks to make my quilt top. So moving forward week by week. There's a couple blocks that, as I said, in February that will be flower oriented. So little variation, but mostly there'll be more stars because I love star blocks. So there's my EPP. Now for the big reveal. All right, let me pause and adjust the camera. All right, I am back. And I have here to share with you my little imp. Now, my little imp is a ranger. This is my crochet version of the brand new Dungeons and Dragons character I have created. Because yes, my husband and I moving into 2024. I think I was saying 2023 earlier. Oh, it's still the new year, can you tell? My husband and I for 2024, we are wanting to try Dungeons and Dragons. We have a local friend who is a dungeon master who has, who is graciously offered to help us. My husband played Dungeons and Dragons back in the 80s. I have never played Dungeons and Dragons. But I have totally gotten into the character development, character buildup. I've created a character for myself. I'm not sure how well I will do with this. I think there's a lot of pitfalls in the whole playing of the game for me, but I did have fun making my little crochet version. And I see my longbow. Yes, I made a longbow. My husband helped me so I didn't have to get glue all over my fingers. I actually went to, I've been playing around with different software again, playing around with my artistic software. And I actually drew my bow, had it cut out with my laser, and then you can see this is the sinew that I'm using is artificial sinew that tie-dyers use to make a longbow. I haven't yet made I'm losing all my words. I haven't yet made the thing that holds the arrows. The quiver, yes. So I'll crochet up a quiver. We'll have some little arrows in it. But that's my imp. Now, for those of you that are big into crochet, you might recognize the imp that I'm using. Let me pull behind me. That's where it's coming from. This was a treat that I gave to myself. I've been wanting it. And so I went ahead and broke down and bought this. It is the most phenomenal book. And I will just tell you, thumbing through and looking at the pictures. Oh my goodness. All right. Not wanting to share. Here, I'll cover this up. I do not want to share any of the stuff but other than the picture. Isn't that just too cute? I love the book just for the stuff that's in it. And when I sat down and I started making my imp, I had the body done, the legs done, head done, everything was ready. And I was like, okay, what am I going to put on it? And I thought about putting on a witch's hat. And I was like, yeah, I was pretty certain I was going to do a witch's hat. They have two different varieties of witch's hats in here. One that is straight and one that is crinkled. I mean, they've got horns galore. Here we go. I had thought about doing this hat. Because isn't that just so cute? But then I started seeing the cape. And their cape is very different than my cape. So I'll tell you about the backstory of my cape here in just a second. But let me find the picture. And you can look at a lot of, this is, there are a number of these guys. So Megan Lapp, her patterns have been on Ravelry for a while. She's got this book out, and she's got a dragon book out. She also has a monster book coming out in, I think, July of this year, 2024. So, oh, this is really cute. So here's the thing, their cape is very different than my cape. You get that cape there, okay? Their cape is very different than my cape because as I was doing the cape, oh, there's antennae on. So basically, first of all, the concept of this book and the monster book that she has coming out later in the year is, there we go, there's the cape pattern, is that you make components and you can mix and match components to an endless amount of fun. So that's the cape as I was trying to make it. It's tacked back in the front, so it's full. But I was using hand spun. And the hand spun that I picked, these are yarns from my 2020 Tour de Fleece. And this yarn was fabulous. It was a fabulous gauge. It was soft. This is actually hand-dyed merino. And it was wonderful. But my other skein that I had, when it came time, I thought was too similar in color value and wouldn't look good against my little variegated blue imp. So I chose this yarn instead. The problem is this yarn is a larger gauged yarn than what the body is. So when I started making the cape and the hood, it was huge. I will know where to go when I need a cape for a larger doll. It was huge. So I had to adjust. The patterns are so well written, blocked out in sequential order. They're so well done that if you need to make an adjustment, like I don't like doing the crochet to the end, chain one in reverse. I like going around in the spiral. Making that adjustment, I was able to follow the pattern, tweak as need be. When it came to the cape, I was able to make adjustments in order to follow her pattern, as in knowing which rows were increased rows and not worrying so much about the stitch count or how many rows there were. I was able to do that, and I came up with the variation. So my cape, that's one of the reasons my cape is so full, it's so heavy, it's so dense, does not drape, is because the gauge of this yarn and this yarn are very different, but I use the same crochet hook. I just had to shrink the rows down for this. But fun. I noticed that she also had links, information to where she has some tutorial videos to help explain certain types of techniques. Wonderful. I didn't go and look them up. I just made do. But really, as far as somebody who is not, I'm still relatively new to reading a pattern and following a pattern. I'm still not any good at following a pattern. I make it work. This, it was wonderful. Now, I believe all of this is done in US terminology. I do not know if there's a different variation for other, across the pond. However, when I was doing searching, I did find Edward's Menagerie has some crochet mix and match as well. It's, if you're an experienced crocheter, you're going to figure out the rhythm. That's the thing I really like about the way this book is written out. The steps are so segmented. They're so complete, but kind of broken up with pictures to say this is what we're doing, that if you are comfortable with crochet, if you're comfortable with the process, you're going to be able to adapt and adjust to your needs so easily. And for the hand spinner, for the spinners of us, hand spun yarn creates a problem. It's hard to find patterns that work well with our hand spun. This one will work well because it's not specific to a gauge. It tells you worsted weight, a G hook, but you make it work to where you have a good, dense, crocheted fabric. That's the key. So this is really friendly to the hand spun community. I highly recommend it. And I'm so looking forward to her monster book coming out. I will be getting that. That's actually, I've already pre-ordered it. Because who doesn't love the ability to make all of these different, this one just, this one here, she also includes where she gets her eyes from. That she has a US source and a UK source. Isn't that the cutest little thing? That one is the one. Oh, I mean, it's just too cute. I need to source those eyes because those are definitely different than the eyes I have. But so cute, so much fun. Certainly got my my crochet mojo back up. I had started knitting again. I've been knitting my squares that I'm doing for an Afghan. I will share more about that probably in an upcoming vlog because this got my mojo so going that I sat down and I did this in like, well, in about a day and a half, 2 evenings, a little bit. It got me so excited. I even went and figured out how to do, this is the I've done a number of laser stuff, but to create something from my own drawing, to create a tool for something else, that's the first, it inspired me. And that, I think, is the thing I look for, is the joy that comes, the inspiration to try something new, to step out of the comfort zone, but most importantly, to find the joy of it. And when we lose our mojo, when the joy wanes, it's nice to have something to bring us back in. So, let's see. I mean, I made a long bow. There we go. All right. My imp, my EPP, a little bit of spinning for Distaff Day, and we are good to go. So I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week ahead. I hope you get some time to unwind with fiber and fabric. And I hope to see you either in a week or 2 weeks. If you have not already subscribed, please subscribe. And if you're worried about missing one of my vlogs, click the little bell icon so you can get notified. I'm not really sure going into 2024, the schedule, as I've said, but we'll see where we go. We'll see what happens, but be notified so that you can see my videos when they pop up. And until I am vlogging with you again, I'm wishing you the best and happy 2024.